What's up, y'all? So that was, if y'all missed it, that was pretty good with Ian today. That was I'm real proud of that, and pretty I think that definitely was the best one yet. The conversations with heavy cardboard, that was yeah, that was badass. And hopefully y'all got something out of it. Like, I was fascinated sitting there listening to all that. That was good shit. Yeah, definitely enjoyed it. So welcome, y'all. So what's on y'all's mind today? Here's your chance. You got me for an hour or so. Because after this, let's see. After this, I'm gonna finish going through the Gen Con list, and then I'm going to finish my prep for Orit Labora. Amanda's actually finishing hers up right now. And then sometime later this afternoon, our time, / this evening, we're going to be live streaming, patrons only for the first time, our recording of an episode. Now, understand, it's going to be very much a one-way conversation. We're not going to have the chat up. Or maybe we'll have the chat up, but we're just going to kind of minimize the window to where we can't see anything, to where we're just going to, you guys basically will be like a through the glass looking in. We're not going to interact. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to let you guys in on a behind the scenes for what should be a pretty passionate episode, and not because of Orit Labora, mind you, but more so the front end stuff, which we're going to talk about: paid reviews, sponsorship, Patreon, and just all those real kind of hot topic things that have been going on lately in the industry, or in social media, Reddit, whatever. Talk about all that. So you should see a true behind the scenes look of what it's like when we record. So if you don't want to have the episode ruined that comes out on Thursday or later on tonight for you guys, maybe Thursday morning, then don't watch. If you want to have it, then there you go. So that'll be it's your option for patrons if y'all want to watch it. This is the first time that I've ever allowed that to happen, because at least when Tony and I did it, there was some less than PC things that we would joke around with, and less rated PG stuff. We didn't want to let that stuff out. With Amanda, it's a little bit less so. Don't get me wrong. We cut up, we bust on each other and all that a little bit here and there. And so it's more business-like when Amanda and I do it. I mean, obviously you guys have heard there's back and forth and everything, but what I'm saying is there's less bullshitting that goes on, and less joking and all that. But if you guys are curious, we figure we would let a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, and let you guys in on that. So that should be cool. So yeah. All right. So let's see. Put on pants. I did. All right. One of the few times in here that I have pants on. So there you go, Gio. All right. You happy? So I'm curious now, when I listen to our live streams, like we'll do test episodes, right? It sounds different than when I have the headphones on in here and before it goes out onto YouTube. So I'm curious. So here's what I aim for, sound quality wise, during the live streams, or during, like the conversations with Heavy Cardboard with Ian and everything. What I shoot for is, if you guys were to watch something on YouTube and you're listening to, I don't know, the Lumineers, right? Or whatever. I want that at whatever volume you listen to that to. I want our audio to match that audio, to where it's not a drastic, I have to turn it up for a Heavy Cardboard stream or down. I try and match it. And so I'm curious, like, if right now, if the audio levels sound good, and make sure that I'm not peaking like it probably did right there as an example. Try and get it to where it's just a good listening level. We fight with this, and if this is matched where I think this is where it needs to be, I will never have to mess with the audio level on the mics again for these. So there's that. Cool, York. Glad you enjoyed the Lisboa playthrough. Good. Yeah, the Ian O'Toole interview was awesome. He sounded a little hesitant at first, and then got real. My job as an interviewer is to make him feel comfortable and open up, and I feel like he really, really did, and that was amazing, dude. That was badass. That's cool. I mean, it's cool. Like, there's a mutual respect here, right? Like, I am a fan of his work, and he is a fan of our work, which to me still is a little surreal, a little weird. Awesome. I mean, he's a patron, right? That's really cool. But still, that was just fun, man, and eye opening. The fact that he play tests his graphic design, that's awesome. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more about it since some of y'all haven't watched that yet. I will not. Yeah, that was awesome. And okay, so for any of y'all that this is your first Ask the Elephant, when it's patron only, I tend to be a little bit more free with my thoughts. Not that I'm really reserved, it's just some things are better kept in house. And here is one thing that I admitted to Amanda, was that after the interview conversation, I was like, that was fist pump. I was like, I feel like, yeah, I fucking nailed that. And it feels really, really good. And then I started thinking about this. Part of the inspiration for doing these long form interviews like this, these conversations, was nobody out there is really doing them. I mean, obviously nobody's doing them live, right? But for the most part, nobody's doing anything like this in the board game industry, and we're the only ones doing it. That's awesome. But also, it's not a competition between us and other channels, podcasts, whatever. It's definitely not a competition. However, I want these interviews to be the end all be all of interviews on the subject matter. And what I mean by that is, I want to do such a good job and have them be so in-depth and comprehensive that others, whoever they are, industry or not, whatever, are like, yeah, you know what? Just go listen to the Heavy Cardboard interview. I don't know what more I could get out of, that person. And that's what I strive for. And again, it's not a competition. It's just, I want to do such a good job. And I prepare thoroughly, I feel like, on these. And I'm able to, my personality and the way I feel like I convey with our guests, that I want to put them such at ease that they're willing to just open up and talk. And I feel like I'm getting better at that, but I feel like I've been pretty good at that. Which is hard for me to admit, that I'm actually doing a pretty good job at something, but I really feel like we are on that, or I am, whatever. And so I really want to knock it out of the park to where other people are just like, well, fuck it, just go listen to that, because kind of killed it. And that's my goal. I mean, that's not the goal of the interview, but that's the level I want to get it to, if that makes sense. So anyway, I just figure I would tell you guys that. Again, I tend to be a little bit more open in these than I am with the general public and stuff, because I feel like we have a trust, we have a relationship here. So there's that. So anyway, just, yeah. All right, so let's see. Oh, wow, I'm falling behind. Sorry. And also, if this is your first Ask the Elephant, I tend to answer truly the questions that get asked, and sometimes they take a minute or two, and even stuff that isn't asked. But anyway, so yeah, all right, let's go. Let's see. Yeah, I agree, Nick. The amount of work that Ian puts into every one of his games, that was cool. Gio asks, back when you played Magic, what kind of decks did you play? It was more or less, I never played really any constructed decks. It was all, excuse me. It was all booster drafts. I loved booster drafts, and we would just mess around. If I did make decks, I really enjoyed the big creature decks. So, green focused, really had fun, but never got too terribly serious about it. But the booster drafts I loved. That's why I like drafting in board games. There's just something really appealing to that. Nick says, how often do you guys play games? Do you try and play something almost every day? So that's a little bit weird. Not the question, Nick. Just we haven't been able to play games as often as we want to. And so now we've gotten to where we're actually scheduling what we're playing what day. Now, Saturdays are the main game days, right? So we try and play most Saturday and all day Saturday. We're on hiatus from Game of the Month just because it's slower during summer. And but Fridays and Mondays, hopefully. It all depends on the schedule, both the live stream schedule, and obviously we're streaming games, which we're playing games, right? So the goal is 4 to 5 days a week. That doesn't always happen. And lately it really hasn't been happening, but the goal is after Gen Con to get back to a minimum of 4 days a week playing games, as well as doing all the content that we're doing as is. So yeah, it's funny. Since I quit my day job, the ultimate goal for me is to be able to learn a game during the day and then teach it to Amanda, Matt, whoever is going to come over that night, that evening. Hasn't happened once. Been too busy playing catch up with everything else, whether it's getting ready for content, meaning whether it's live streams, whether it's top 6, or obviously the podcast itself, the reviews. I'm not surprised anymore, but I'm still very in disbelief how much shit there is to do behind the scenes. You ought to see my inbox. The amount of emails, good problem to have, but oh my. And then getting ready for conventions. And so getting ready for conventions means scheduling meetings, means scheduling all these different things and arranging all of that. And all this takes time. And then you have, between emails and messages, I'm probably getting 30 to 50 a day that I have to respond to. That's a lot of correspondence. It's a good problem to have. But once I'm done playing catch up, then it's just a matter of maintaining, and I feel like I'll be able to get to that, which then in turn, when we're not playing catch up, means we can spend more time actually playing games in the evenings. So that ultimately is the goal. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. And Amanda is very much the more organized of the two. And she has gotten tired of playing catch up as well. And so she has taken the reins on keeping us organized, keeping us on task, and keeping us catching up. And then being the taskmaster, so to speak. Again, all this will get us to where we're able to play games 4 or 5 nights a week, whether they're live on camera or otherwise. So hopefully that answers that. So right now it's only maybe 2 days a week, which is horrible. The goal is 4 or 5. So there's that. Let's see. Magnificus. Howdy. Hey, what's up? Edward, why did you decide to quit professional poker? I didn't choose to. I didn't decide to. The government, the Department of Justice did. So on Black Friday, and my timeline is a little rusty, but for those that are familiar with online poker, Black Friday was April 15th. I want to say 2000, maybe. I'm sorry, 2009, 2010, 2011. It was somewhere in that window, April 15th. The Department of Justice seized PokerStars, Full Tilt Poker, and Ultimate Bet, which were the 3 main online poker sites in the U.S., or that U.S. players played on. And once they seized that, I transferred all but $1,000 over to my buddies Jody, who is still a professional poker player who finished like 220th this year in the main event. He's still a grinder. He's Canadian, but transferred all but $1,000 so that, because I was worried because I'm in the U.S. I mean, even though it was legal, just wasn't legal to deposit, and I hadn't deposited since 2006. I still was worried about money getting frozen, whatever. I ran that up a couple $1,000 by the time they kicked us off the site, which was the following Tuesday, and then we had to wait about 4 years to get that money back. So when the DOJ shut down online poker, Amanda and I had a decision to make. Now, we had already moved from Vegas, where I was playing mostly online, but still playing some live at the Wynn, playing the 510 no limit at the Wynn, and mostly playing 1-2, 6-handed, 6 max online, playing 16, 18 tables at a time, as well as Zoom poker, which was had just gotten big on Full Tilt. Full Tilt was my main site. We had a decision to make. We'd already moved to Denver from Vegas because we missed seasons, but the decision was either I had to go back to aviation because that was the only thing that I could make enough money in to support us, or we had to leave the country because couldn't play in the States anymore. So the consideration was, do we move to someplace like Canada? Do we move to Thailand, where I had a lot of friends move? And we decided, you know what? No, we like Denver. We just moved here. So I got back to punching a clock in a wall. And plus we wanted to buy a house, and the most banks don't like the idea of giving loans to somebody that's quote unquote unemployed, self-employed, whatever, as a professional gambler. So decided, I had to go back to aviation, even though I was hella burnt out on it, and that's why I had quit it to begin with, and to play poker for a living. And so that was that. And now it's gotten way harder to do so. But there are days I miss it, and then there are days I remember going on a $24,000 downswing, and how waking up in the morning knowing that I had to go to work, i.e. play poker, whether it's live or online, play live, and know I was going to lose $2,000 that day just because I was in such a bad place mentally that, like, I had already lost the money even before I even sat down, which is a really destructive mentally place to be. So there are days I definitely miss it. Like, I have been hankering something fierce to go up the hill meaning to Black Hawk, where they have this spread limit game. Max bet in Colorado, you're allowed, no matter what game you're playing, is $100. So there's no such thing as no limit poker. It's spread limit. You can bet from $2 to $100. So if you raise, the max raise you can do is $100. And so it's a little bit weird, but I very much have a hankering to go play poker again. Not full-time or anything, totally recreational, just like go up for a day and play. But money's tight right now, so I'm not, but I really do at times miss it. And then there are the days I remember how bad of a place I was mentally at some time. It's during some stretches, and I don't miss it on those days. So there's definitely I've grown past the lifestyle. Like, it was pretty cool being a professional poker player and making your own schedule. Kind of like what I do now, but this is a lot more structured than that. There are little aspects that I miss of the lifestyle, but for the most part, I'm real happy with where I am right now. That may change come the end of September, but so there you go. Long story long, I guess. There you go. Any war games on the horizon for a live playthrough? Perhaps Here I Stand, Alan asks. Alan, no, Here I Stand is not on the immediate or short-term docket. We'll leave that one alone. But as far as war games, absolutely. By the end of September, the goal is to have 3 live streams of war games. What ones? maybe Warriors of God might be one, even though I really was wasn't super thrilled at the end of the last game of it. Time of Crisis is definitely going to happen. Some people would argue it's not a war game, but come on. And Sekigahara. We're going to figure out a way to make the blocks work, to be able to live stream it and everything, to be able to get the cameras out far enough, whatever, have it on tripod behind, whatever. We'll figure it out. But those three probably are the three that we're going to try and get to the table. There may be a little bit of flexibility in there. But yeah, definitely we are going to make it a priority to get that done for sure. All right. Sounds good. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Whoa, that jumped. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. It's funny. It's like I'm on camera, but I don't feel like I am because I feel like I'm just talking with friends. So this is kind of nice. It's a lot more relaxed than this normally is, so that's nice. Let's see. Hi, Brad. Let's see. When designers, etc., ask you to interview them, it becomes easy. Not necessarily, because it's still a lot of work. And there are, I mean, it was easy with like guys like Nuno and Paulo and Vital, because like I know these guys now. I mean, we converse, like we'll send DMs on Twitter, we'll email, whatever. And so I feel like there's a legitimate friendship there. And then there are others, like the one, Andrew Rader. You have no idea how nervous I was about that. I mean, dude's a PhD from MIT, rocket scientist. And he's just out, like, he's at a different level than where I'm at, right? I mean, I never went to college. I joined the Marine Corps instead. So there was definitely, plus he's a board game designer and he plays board games, but that's not his life. You know what I mean? And so that took me out of my element. I was hella nervous, but even so, I felt like, okay, did pretty good. And Ian and I wouldn't necessarily would say are friends. Like I said earlier, he's a fan of our work, which blows me away. I'm a fan of his work, and he and I have corresponded before, but I wouldn't say we've ever really been friends just because like we've never met face to face. Today is the first time I saw him, and that was awesome. But there's not always that immediate connection between me and whoever I'm interviewing. And so like it's my job to get them comfortable even though they don't know me real well. And so it's still pretty stressful and pretty I'm nervous, right? I try and be a professional because that's what I'm trying to be here. And so my job is not to ever let on that I'm nervous. Like during all our live streams, you should see me beforehand. Like my hands are like this because I'm super oh my God, before the brass live stream. Are you kidding me? Dude, I was a miserable prick to be around the last 5 minutes before that because I'm barking orders and doing all this stuff because I was so nervous because I knew how many people were going to watch that. I was less difficult to deal with before Founders of Gloomhaven, even though I knew that one was going to be a really popular one as well. And so I'm getting more comfortable with me, and I'm preparing better for the live streams, but I'm still hella nervous before these. I mean, 60, 70, however many we've done now. You would think I would get used to it, which I am to a point, but it's still, you're on camera live. Like the advantage to everybody else that isn't live is, oh, I screwed that up. Hold on. Let me back up. Let me shoot another take. We don't get that luxury, especially me, since I'm the one who almost all the time am teaching the game and I'm always running the streams. It's nerve-wracking. And so I want it to go perfect. So yeah, it's dude, I'm hugely nervous every time before we go live. Less so on this, because I feel like this is, like I said, I feel like I'm amongst friends and it's just y'all, we're just hanging out shooting the shit or whatever, right? Even though it is kind of a one-way street, but not really because you guys are in chat, but you know what I mean. So Oh, Nick says, is there any way to fix the video lag on the Conversations live stream? It's not a huge deal, but it can be distracting when watching. What do you mean, Nick? Obviously, I'll get to this here in about 10, 15 minutes when I see you write it. I don't know what you're referencing, and the answer is probably no. It's just, I mean, we're streaming it live. So if you're saying on whoever I'm interviewing their Skype, that's a Skype issue, and there's no better way to do this unless I don't do it live, which then I could just post it for you guys. That would be the only way to do it, I think. So you tell me if that's what it is you're talking about. Let's see. Have I ever learned about interviewing techniques, taken a class, reading books, or anything? I think you're doing great, by the way. Nope. Ryan, I will be 100% honest with you. Every single aspect of heavy cardboard is trial by fire. Everything. We have learned everything that we do by experience. 100%. Whether it's what's an RSS feed, to how to record, how to make different filters within Audition, for Amanda when she edits, how to edit the live streams, how the software works, how lighting, which I hate our lighting in here. I really am not happy with it, but we're learning as we go. We watch videos, we read, we do stuff like that, but never taken no formal anything. The mixers, the audio interface, 100%, every aspect of this is me, Amanda, and especially when it comes to the video and audio side of the live streams, Matt. It's all, let's see how we can figure this out. Okay, we get an idea. How do we want to do that? We need to figure out how this happens. So yeah, that's no, zero. And as far as interviewing, so Ian and I talked about like talent, right? And what is talent and what is work? Like talent might give you an innate ability, like a leg up, but unless you do something, unless you hone your craft, whether it's artwork, whether it's podcasting, whether it's interviewing, unless you work at it, you're never going to get better at it. And all of this, honestly, the one innate thing, and one thing that I feel like separates me specifically, and I'm not saying me as in heavy cardboard, but I mean me as in Edward, not even Amanda, is my personality is markedly different than just about every single other person in this hobby. I'm a very straight shooter, as you guys know. I call a spade a spade. I am very extroverted, even though it's exhausting to me, especially at cons, to be on all the time. Not that I'm phony, it's just being on is being me, but also being energetic and all of that. That's just the way I am, and that's just my natural personality. And so that's one thing that separates me from literally every other person in this hobby that I have met, especially within the media side, which you would think that wouldn't be the case, but it very much is. And so I feel like because I'm real, and because what you see is what you get, like what you guys hear on the podcast and what you see in the live streams is exactly like I am, with one small difference, is I cuss a whole hell of a lot more than I do on the live streams and on the podcast. Now, why do I self-edit that? We really don't want the explicit tag. And if we're going to be professional about this, I want to be able to be professional, and that includes self-editing that. So anyway, but that part of my personality, I feel like makes it easier to connect with people. And so I feel like my interviewing style and my interviewing skill it's somewhat just innate. Like it seems natural to me. Like it seems obvious to me. Like this kind of goes hand in hand with, you'll hear, or maybe you don't, but I do. You'll hear podcasts or YouTube channels or other things that complain. People that are on them complain, oh, why aren't we bigger? Oh, why aren't we get more downloads or whatever? And I read stuff on the internet, whatever, that like how to market yourself and all this stuff. And these things are intuitive to me. And so a lot of things that, because of maybe my personality, that just seem obvious. Like if you're in marketing, don't post real controversial stuff that, like, on your own page, that's going to bleed over into the brand that you have. So I guess what I'm getting at is just my personality leads to my ability to just connect with people, I feel like, because I'm genuine, because what you see is what you get, really. And so I feel like that's just like interviewing, not an easy skill, but however, I feel like I have a knack for it. And then as I do it more, I get more experience, and I just get more comfortable, and I'm able to riff off of whoever I'm interviewing, and it just feels more comfortable. And they therefore get more comfortable, and they're more willing to talk about things that they wouldn't normally talk about. And I'm not saying anything risque or anything taboo or anything, oh, I didn't mean to say that stuff. Just they're more comfortable. So we're just having a conversation. And I feel like that is a skill that I work hard at to improve, but also it's somewhat just me. And so no, but that said, I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it, and that you're getting something out of it, not just entertainment, but I mean what I said, that I'm just inquisitive. I have an inquisitive personality. I want to know the why and the how and all this. So these interviews are as much for me as they are for y'all, because I want to know like what goes into designing and the artwork of it and all this cool stuff that I am completely ignorant about. Maybe a little bit less so as I get more and more into this hobby, especially having the access that I do being a media guy. But it's still fascinating to me to get inside these people's brains and how they work. And I think that's awesome. So I really, really enjoy this. And hopefully other folks are too, because I mean, I'm cool if nobody watches them, just because I get questions answered that I'm curious about. But at the same time, I want thousands and thousands and thousands of people to be able to watch these, because they're legitimately interesting. And if you have an inquisitive mind like me, then I would think you would want, because this is cool shit, right? And so that's why I'm always surprised why more people don't watch them, because they're not like really super popular downloads. They're not super popular on YouTube, which whatever. It's a bummer. I mean, from just a dude, you're missing out standpoint, but also from a heavy cardboard, hey, come watch this or listen, stuff. But other than that, even if nobody did, I would still do them, because dude, they're just fun and they're cool. I love hearing about this stuff. So, all right, there's that. That's a really long answer to a very short question. Sorry about that, Ryan. But hopefully, do you guys like that I go into this much detail and explain this during this? Or is this like, dude, you answered it, shut up, move on? I don't know. You tell me. Hi, Marcus. Talking games takes a lot of time. I've played a lot less since starting. Oh, Brad and his show. Yes, it's and I've said this numerous times, and it's I tread carefully here, because I want to make sure that it doesn't come across as whining, that there's a lot of damn work that goes into whether it's a podcast, video, YouTube, live streaming. It is a shocking amount of work. Like the Or at Labora episode is probably going to take, between Amanda and I, or individually, between 10 to 14 hours to prep, record, edit, promote, and do all the artwork and everything else for it. Individually, it's a lot of work. I love it, and I want to do this full time. It's just, if somebody was thinking about starting a podcast or a YouTube channel or any of that, it's true. Anybody could do it. You get a phone and you make a YouTube account or get an RSS feed and you hit publish. That's all it takes. I mean, however, if you want a high quality podcast or YouTube channel, be prepared for the sheer amount of work that you don't realize it's going to be. And that's another thing that's content trumps everything, right? Because if your content sucks, who cares? No one's going to listen. If your audio quality or your video quality is like, people will fight through as long as you're making good content. And so content is king, and making it original and making it something you're passionate about is number one. Number two, be prepared. If you're going to make it a quality show, be prepared for the amount of work that goes into it, because nobody is ready for that. I mean, even, now I'm drawing a total blank. The guy, Mad Men, right? Rich Summer. There's a reason he quit his show after 8 episodes. Didn't realize how much work there was that went into it. I can't blame him. So those people, those shows that make it 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. Holy cow. That is amazing, because that is a surprising amount of work to prepare, record, edit, and publish and promote and all those things. I don't kid when I say I have worked full time on this show for the entire life of the show. I don't have other hobbies. We go hiking now. That's cool. But I don't do anything outside the show, which I'm okay with, because this is what I've chosen to do. But I'm determined to make this successful. And you just have to, it all depends on why you're hitting publish on these podcasts and YouTube channels. To say that there isn't any ego involved would be untrue, because otherwise, why the hell are you hitting publish? You would just hit save, keep it on your hard drive, and okay, I made a thing. I'm happy with that. However, I would not be okay if it was something I wasn't fully passionate about, and something that I wasn't fully ready to make as high quality as we know how. And it's obviously an ever improving scale there of quality. And as Paul Chad likes to tell me, it's a matter of diminishing returns, which he's 100% right. But I am driven to make this the best podcast in existence, period. Doesn't mean I succeed in that. I don't know, but I'm going to work my ass to make sure, as well as the YouTube channel. So anyway, sorry. Tangent. Yeah, a lot of work. Yes. Yorick asks, Terraforming Mars starting player token. Right. Yep. That's what it is. Just hanging out. So confession. So the wings on it. Hold on. I'll go get it. Hold on. So the wings on it, as you guys see, are supposed to collapse, and it goes into it. There's a space for it in the insert, right, in the box. However, when we made this, we had to use glue and didn't realize it was supposed to shut, and oops. So there you go. So he hangs out up here because he won't fit in the box, because we had to glue it, because oops, our bad. So anyway, and yes, that's a lot of board game emails. Good problem to have, though. I'm certainly not going to complain about it. The only reason I bring it up is because I imagine other people are like me, and they're curious about what all goes into making a podcast. And one of the things that we're going to do next month is some behind the scenes stuff. And it's not, oh, they just want to be dramatic on, look at how much work nah, fuck that. That's not it. That's not at all it. It's because I imagine if I wasn't on the inside looking out, I would be curious what all goes into making a podcast, what all goes into making a live stream, video content in general. And so we're going to cover some of that for our patron drive that's coming in September. More on that later. Yeah, so that's why we do it. It's not, ooh, pity us, because God knows I don't want that. I do want that to grow, yes, but it's not for pity. It's to explain and to convey. That's all. That's really the only reason. Matthias asks, what's my take on the Roxley chip add-ons for brass Kickstarter? I think they look really pretty. If you don't have poker chips, that might not be a bad place to start if you want poker chips. Other than that, I don't really have an opinion. They look good. I realize they're calling them, what are they, money chips or something? They're fucking poker chips. If it acts like a duck, it sounds like a duck, it looks like a duck, it's a duck. And don't overthink it. I would caution them in a sense that, look, they're poker chips. And there is a consistency that people expect with poker chips, whether that's color, denomination, whatever. Don't try and reinvent the wheel, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm excited to see them. The end, as far as an opinion. I just hope they don't focus too much on that and lose sight of the forest through the trees, that the board games are the things that matter, not the chips as much. So there's that. I feel like maybe, and I don't know, that I caution them, I should say, to not make that the focus just because they want to run a separate Kickstarter for the chips. And I'm not saying they are. I would just caution against that. So there you go. Yeah, Task Mistress. That is true. Yes, that is exactly right. All right, let's see. Brad, note to self, never play poker with Edward. I'm actually not, I mean, I'm rusty as all get out, but yeah, Yorick says doesn't play poker. Let's see. Matthew, hi. Used to play at the Wynn years ago when the poker room there seems to have gone downhill in the past few years, unfortunately. Used to be my favorite card room when I visited Vegas. It was uncapped. And what I mean by uncapped is you could buy in for whatever you wanted. And so there were times, not often, mind you, but at times, especially during the World Series of Poker, if I ever took a shot, meaning playing in a limit higher than what I normally play, so I played the 510. That's the level of the blinds. So that's normal buy-in would be $1,000 at the 510. I would buy in for $2,000 so I could play a little bit deeper to make the mistakes that I make, my opponents make, cost them more money. If that makes sense. Play deeper is what we called it. However, if I ever played in the 10-20 and there was a guy by the name of Yukon Brad, I forget his last name, professional poker player, he would sometimes buy in for $250,000. Normal buy-in's $2,000. He'd buy in for $250,000. Some of it is just dick waving, and some of it is intimidation and stuff. So it was cool to be able to play in those games. But I imagine that those are not that's not the main room, apparently, according to Matthew, like Aria or something like that is. I will say this, back, oh God, I forget when, I want to say 2006, 2007, I was on Live at the Bike, which is at the Bicycle Casino in LA. An episode they live stream. This is way before live streaming really was a thing. They live stream poker games, and you could see hole cards and everything with just average Joes. And I was one of those average Joes. That was, it was the night Sonny Leone was on there. And man, I played so well on that though. Woo! Made some really good reads. That was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. Oh yes, another war game, Pacific Typhoon. Good call, Giovanni. That will definitely happen. And dude, I gotta be honest. It's still weird to me when people are like, hey, I blame you, Heavy Cardboard or Edward or whatever. Whenever I'm on Twitter or whatever, and people are like, yeah, I heard your review or I heard X, Y, or Z, you talking about this on your show, and they buy it. And I'm like, I'm always nervous. Still, to this day, I'm still nervous because I'm like, well, shit. What if they don't like it and they bought it? Yeah, I'm like, but then again, wait a minute. We give the positives and minuses in our reviews. Nah, if they listen to that and they still bought it, that's on them, not on us. So, but I still, I still get a little nervous about it. I ain't gonna lie, but it's still really cool. And the reason I bring that up right now is Andrew Dennison tweeted at us today that, hey, I scored this out of print copy of Pacific Typhoon today, and I saw that, so that was pretty cool. Nick Nelson asks, hold on. It's a lot of talking. And this right here, what we're doing is me at conventions the entire time. And this is why by Sunday I sound like a frog. Nick asks, was WBC intimidating at all? Reading some reports, it sounds like a lot of people are really, really good at some of these games. Yes. A, yes, it's intimidating in some respects. And B, yes, some are stupid good at some of these games. In fact, if you listen to yesterday's episode, I talk about some of the tournaments that I was not willing to enter because I knew I would get smoked. However, that said, if your goal is to go and challenge yourself and to have fun, do it. Enter these tournaments, and 99%, maybe 98% of the people that you're going to play against are going to be pleasant people. Obviously, you have some of those assholes, those people that, and I said this on the show last night, that whose sense of self-worth is tied up in how they do in these tournaments. Those are just miserable cunts, and I don't want to have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis anyway, or I wouldn't want to interact with these people in any form or capacity. However, sometimes you get stuck in a game with them. Shit happens. You're going to do that if you go play at a friendly local game store, or you go to a convention playing with strangers. That's always going to be possible. But that was very much the exception to the rule at WBC. Now, there are other games where I was really legitimately competitive. I think I was pretty good at Terraforming Mars. I took second. I probably could have won one of my flights or one of the heats if I had played it more, but I just didn't want to. Castles of Burgundy, I feel like I was going to be competitive in. There were others that I wasn't willing to, just because I knew I would get smoked. Next year, I'm bringing it. Brass Birmingham, I'm there. Yorick says, Legion War Games was thinking of sending you a copy of the great game. That would be a good game. I agree. That would be great. I saw, was it you, Yorick? Was it Giovanni or Brad? It was one of you guys I saw that had talked to Legion, and that was cool. I appreciate that. Some of these publishers do that. If you guys want us, because I'll just say it this way. Even as big as we are getting, we're still small compared to like the Dice Tower, Secret Cabal, Shut Up and Sit Down, whatever. We just recently, and I do mean recently, like in the last 4 months, have finally gotten in with Mayfair to where they send us stuff now. There is still Asmodee. I can't even get a response to an email, much less anything else. There are still a lot of companies that won't give us the time of day, especially war games. Okay, understood. We haven't featured a lot. I get that. That just are terrible at communication and won't do it. So if you guys do that for us, that helps us, which in turn helps you because we're going to review those games, right? So win-win. But so that helps. So I appreciate that. And if they send it like that and it's not too big of a game, which that one doesn't look to be, then we'll touch on it on the show. We will review it, live stream it, something. All right. Andrew says, you talked about the Brass live stream that you were super nervous about due to it being high profile. What's the next high profile live stream on the docket? There are going to be, so Brass was the first really big one, and dude, I was a wreck nervous about it, but I feel like I did all right, hit it well. Founders of Gloomhaven was the second, and that's why I was so, not despondent, but dude, I was crushed when the internet went down. I handled it as best I could, but oh, dude, you have no idea. I I guess maybe the Ruhr would be one because that nobody has that. We do. So Friday, the Ruhr. Not going to be at the same level as those two. I understand that. Brazil is going to be the next big one. It helps that we're friends with Veronica and Mariano, and so and obviously Nuno and Paulo. So we will have that one. Feudum is going to be another one. That's going to be another big one that we're going to be doing either in October or November. That's going to be another big one. So there you go. Those would be the others that I know of right now. So Feudum or Ruhr, but probably a step below those two as far as like big high profile. Then Feudum would be next, and then Brazil would be the others that I know of right now. Now somebody might reach out to us and be like, hey, that'd be cool. Oh, okay. Finally catching up to Nick. Okay, so Tesla Volta says, I didn't see any, but he says, yeah, the Skype video, it's one or two. That nothing, literally nothing we can do about that. Our internet now at this point is as good as it gets. Like our download is almost 250 meg a second, and our upload's about 12. That's literally the best that money can buy for our area. So there is a delay between Skype and our recording software, which is XSplit. There's nothing I can do about that. So no, the only other option is to not live stream them. And I kind of dig the people being able to watch in real time and respond via the chat. So no, sorry. If you're not keen on that, my best suggestion, and I'm not being a smartass here, I'm being serious, is just wait until we release it on the podcast the following Monday, usually. And that way you don't see it, and so it doesn't bother you. And again, I'm not being a smartass. I'm being serious. Like, that would be the only fix that I have, unfortunately. Sorry. Hey, Nils. You think the board game industry has the same amount of professionalism as other industries, or is it still a geeky business? Absolutely not the same professionalism. I don't even think that could be remotely confused with that, nor would I think that it would be remotely even in the same realm. Yeah, I'll go with it. So there are a number. Okay, let me rephrase that. There are far more hobbyists than professionals in this industry. I started out as a hobbyist, so I didn't come about this being a professional. I hold myself to that standard now, and I hold this show to that standard now. I feel like Man vs. Meeple does an amazingly good job of their production quality. Their new set, I'll be honest, I saw that and I was like, motherfucker, that looks amazing. And then I look at ours and I'm like, well, they did run a hugely successful Kickstarter. We do have a good Patreon, but it's at a whole different level there. And I was like, because there's so much I want to do. But anyway, Man vs. Meeple, I feel like we are extremely professional in our presentation as well as our reviews and our live streams. We work really hard to do so. And there are some others, but there are far more that aren't. And so, and I think I may have said this publicly before, and if not, I will say it to y'all, that when I interviewed Aldi, he was like, I asked him the question, just somebody had asked, I think in the chat, do you feel like there is too many reviewers out there? And he said, no, I want more. My response was, oh, or I think is the exact thing that I said, because he didn't ask me, so I didn't answer. However, I would disagree that more is better. More high quality reviewers? Yes. Written reviewers. They're Space Biff. That dude is amazing. I long to be as eloquent as he is. I think he does a fantastic job. I think God, now I'm gonna forget him, and I'm terrible at off the top of my head stuff. I think it's Charles Charlie, fuck, I can't remember his last name. Charlie Thriel, who writes for a legit like magazine or website. I'm sounding like an idiot. Anyways, there are more professional writers than there are professional other forms of media. I don't feel like there are a lot of. I feel like it's more fans doing fan service, that type thing, than there are actual professionals. And it's not about the quality of the equipment, understand. It is the quality of the content in which I'm judging professionalism, if that makes sense. Let's put it this way. If I had a $15 mic here and we did our podcast, I would say we are professional. We present it in as good a professional manner as which we could. So it's not the lights, it's not the cameras, it's not the microphones. It helps. It's nice. Sure, it sounds better and looks better, but it's the quality of the content that is lacking in this hobby. I feel like there's a reason Heavy Cardboard exists, and that's because nobody was covering this, and those that were touching on it, I didn't feel like did the type of job that I would want to do, or that I want. I make the type of content, we make the type of content that we would like to consume. Does that make sense? And so, yes, we are content creators, but I also feel we strive to be professional media as well in our critique. Our reviews are critiques, I feel like. I might not always use the level of language that I would like to. And what I mean by that is the vocabulary sometimes I feel like is lacking within myself. But outside of that, I feel like we do a very good job of balanced, fair, and thorough reviews, which to me is a solid critique. But that's that. Sorry, rabbit hole again. Yeah. All right. I like being able to answer these and then like 10 minutes later getting down and seeing the answers or the responses to what I've said afterwards. So that'll be interesting. Neil says, I'm often baffled how quote unquote customers are treated by companies on Kickstarter. And I'm also confused of how companies handle new releases with literally handing out zero info about new SM releases. Blows my mind, dude. Like, if there was one real big legitimate beef I have with publishers as a general rule is lack of communication. And I'm not saying because, hey, look at me, you should respond to me because I'm Heavy Cardboard. No, you should respond to me because either A, I'm a customer, or B, I can help you promote, whatever as Heavy Cardboard. So customer and both, right? And it's funny how badly I get jumped on whenever I reprimand companies in general for this, because this is what I know is we're not perfect on our email responses or social media or anything else like that. But this just in, even when I had a day job, I was still active on building Heavy Cardboard and responding to everything that we received as best I could and doing it, eventually getting to it. And so I am one person and I am a podcast / YouTube. Now, when I say this, I'm in charge of all the emails. That's my job. Amanda doesn't do that. She's in charge of all the production and half the her prep, but also all the graphics, and whether it's video and or just the graphics that you guys see, whether it's video or static graphics. And that takes up a considerable amount of time because she's self-taught too on all this stuff. So if I can respond to that, why can't they? It's not that hard. These are your customers. How are you not? And anybody that doesn't have an online presence, it's 2017. How do you not as a company? And these apologists out there that are like, hey, it's only a mom and pop. I don't care. You're a professional. Be a fucking professional. It's just do it. Anyway, Sorry. Thanks for the rant, Niels. Matthew says, and do you guys, and seriously, do you guys like me this? Because I can be less verbose. This is me, right? This is why you guys support the show, right? All right. Matthew says regarding talent versus ability versus putting in work, an excellent book on that is Talent is Overrated by Jeffrey Colvin. Worth a read if you have the opportunity. Do me a favor, Matthew. Will you email that to me? Because I will forget it, and I was woefully unprepared and didn't bring a pen and paper. I'm sorry. But thank you. I will check that out. Yorick, most successful writers put in 10 plus hours a day and don't mope about having no inspiration. Most have creative jobs. Most other creative jobs are the same. Yeah, understand. I'm not moping. I'm thrilled at being allowed, at least right now, to be the creative or a creative person and doing this full time. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. In my creative ventures, I often have a lot of circulating in the back of my head, even when I'm not explicitly working on it. There are fewer moments awake that I'm not thinking about what we can do for me personally, what I'm thinking, what can I do to make the show better than I'm not. It's a sickness, but in the best way, because I don't know any other way to be other than be passionate. And I imagine anybody that's passionate about whatever it is you're passionate about out there, it would be similar for you, right? I mean, we don't have kids. This is our life. I mean, obviously we have Asher, right? But yeah, we love it. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I'm getting to, yes, you guys like the long answers. Giovanni, yep, shut up. Matthias, regarding Kickstarter, when is the time for a company to not seek crowdfunding? Simon, for example, why do they have to keep people paying for games in advance? Aren't they a solid enough company? My honest and my cynical answer is, if people are willing to give you the money and do it, what's your incentive to stop? So, okay, yeah, let me pose it to you that way, Matthias. Why should they stop? I'm not asking morally or ethically or any of that highbrow question. Just why? I mean, Kickstarter, and that's the kicker with Kickstarter, no pun intended, is the publicity that brings, because Kickstarter is synonymous now with board games and all this. So if you say, now obviously there are still those people out there, oh, I'll never Kickstart, I don't use Kickstarter, I don't like it, but they are very much in the minority, because I see the numbers that Simon and some of these really big companies are bringing down in their Kickstarters. So my question is, why should they stop? Would you? I mean, truly, if they're printing money. Now, does that kind of fly in the face of maybe the purpose or what you and I might think is what they should be doing? Again, talking that highbrow, higher level, ethical or moral, or fill in the right word. But are you going to pass up a few $1 million if you're a company? Yeah. Matthew says, to paraphrase somebody we all know, if you want to produce high quality content, plan better. It takes hours, but I think our show and our growth represent that. Honestly, do I want the show 10 times bigger than it is? Yup. Am I going to be satisfied until this is a considerably bigger number? Now, understand. Hold on. Let me be clear on something, and I don't feel like I need to preface with you guys, because you guys know that I'm going to be genuine and I'm going to be honest about this stuff. Is this the end all be all? No, it is not. The level of the Patreon and the amount of money and the number of patrons is not the end all be all. However, I really, really like doing this full time. I really, really want to continue to do this. So I'm going to bust my ass. I don't want to punch that clock on the wall because I am very passionate about what it is we do. And I want to make this better. The only way I can do that is if this gets 2, 3, 4 times as big as it is. Will it get there? I truly believe it will. Is it happening as fast as I want? Nope. However, that's not the reason I still do this. The reason I do this is because I'm passionate about this and I have opinions and I have this platform and I want to use it for good. And what I mean by that is I want to be able to take publishers and designers to task when they do a shitty job on a rule book or they cut corners on a production quality on something that they shouldn't be, or talking about paid reviews and stuff like that, like we're going to later tonight. I want to bring people into the heavier side of board games because I feel like this is, there are a lot of us. I mean, all of y'all, right? And so I want that number to continue to increase. And I want to push what I feel is the level of professionalism of board game media higher. And I want it to be held to a higher standard. And so I have all this passion. I have all these things, but I can only do it if I can keep the power on, right? I mean, so to speak, or not exactly that. And so, yeah, this is not the end all be all, but it is very much a driving force because I'm not one to rest on laurels. And I want to keep pushing and I want to keep building and growing and being able to produce more interesting and compelling content and to be able to have the voice of the heavy gamer in mind and being able to impart change on behalf of our fellow heavier gamers that I feel like get overlooked a lot in this hobby. And I have this platform. I want to use it for that. So anyway, sorry. All right. Terraforming Mars, Meeple Realty sold out. Sorry. I only say that because I like to think we helped with that. That's cool, right? They are a sponsor now. So, yeah, Matthew says from one of the comments that Roxley is at least considering a Kickstarter just for the iron clays, their chips. Right, and that's what I was referencing about, I hope they don't focus too much on that and not the game. I trust the guys at Roxley to do the games right, so I don't think that'll happen. I just kind of like here, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys about we had one of our patrons the other day, this is on Sunday, made a reference to, yes, you guys are putting out high quality content and you're putting out a shit ton of it, and that's great. However, we didn't realize that it had been nearly a month since we had done a review episode. What? Amanda and I were shocked when he said that. And we went back and looked and we were like, holy shit. And so we lost focus of what we should be focusing on. And so sometimes you need that little checkup or that yoke up, like, yo, hey, hold up. And both Amanda and I were like, wow, that will never happen again. And so that's why she stayed up till 12:30 the other night, making sure that we said this is going to be out. It's going to be out. And that's why you're not going to have episodes late anymore on Thursdays, because no, that is not who we are. And that is not irresponsible, but that is not being professional, and that is not okay with either one of us. So in that same regard, I just want to make sure that and I'm not saying like it's my job to make sure they're not, I'm just saying they the royal y'all, don't lose sight of, look, their focus needs to be on the production, not just the production quality, but the rules, the whole, everything that goes into those two brass games. The chips are great, but those aren't the main focus. They shouldn't be. And if it is, they need to check up about that. That's all. Oh yeah. Okay. And Gio says, yeah, all the updates are about the clays, and that's exactly it. See, and I bet you part of that is nobody stopped them and said, hey guys, hello, brass. That's what matters. Just like what that one patron did for us. And I was like, wow, we have failed. And Amanda was like, yeah, that shit can't happen. So there you go. So it's sometimes we're human. We lose sight of this stuff on occasion. And so that's why that was really needed. And I'm glad we had no idea, truly, because we were putting out so much content. We felt like we were doing a great job, and then no, we're not. And they weren't unhappy with us. They just were like, hey, by the way, check it out. No. So yeah, that was a huge eye opener. Anyway, York says, I blame you for getting me Trick of the Rails and Docmus, Rado for Snowdonia. Cool. Speaking of which, and I was thinking about doing a Conversations with Heavy Cardboard with Rado. What do you think? I wonder if the episode of Live at the Bike is on YouTube. Used to play Limit, so I never knew No Limit till it was uncapped. Crazy to buy in for $250,000 at 10. You ain't lying. You should have seen the stacks of cash. It was bricks, $50,000 bricks. It was, whew, it was a lot of money. I assure you, York, sorry. We are going to live stream Snowdonia at some point. Tony's good people, man. And we're talking about Tony Boydell, the designer and publisher. Well, I don't think he published indie boards and cards, I think. Anyway, he's the designer of Snowdonia as well as Guilds of London and other games. And Tony is legitimate good people. And yeah, I want to do that for him because we try and take care of those that take care of us, as far as, if you make a good game and you're a good person, then we want to help you with that, right? So, I mean, we made an exception with Clay at Cap. No, I'm kidding. Clay's a good friend of ours. Oh, Legion's a one-man show out of Minnesota. I didn't know, but even so, keep on him. That would be helpful. Funny thing is, I never heard of Man vs. Meeple, and I consume a good amount of board game content. Luke, on that note, do you they tend to focus on considerably lighter games than, well, I mean, most everybody does than what we do, but that's what they focus on. But their production quality is, especially with the new set that's coming. It's not that I'm envious, but I'm envious a little, and I'm like, fuck, I want that, man, bad. I want to be able to do that, because I feel like there's just a level of spit and polish that, is that going to bring us more viewers? Is that going to bring us more subscribers, whether on the podcast or the YouTube channel? Nope. But it's going to satisfy the need in me to have us to our production level. I know the content level's already there. I'm happy with that. And your guys' response has told me that we're nailing our content where it needs to be. However, the production quality, even this is nice, but it's not as good as it could be. And I want to get to that. That's all. It's just a drive. It's an internal thing that I struggle with on that. Oh, and I'm not critiquing their content. I'm talking, or anything like that. I'm strictly talking about their production level is unmatched. Honestly, I think our live streams are better than anybody else in this hobby, bar none. And I don't think anybody does as good a job as we do at our live streams, nor do I feel like anybody does as good a job in their reviews as we do. Some people want overviews, a little 5-minute in and out, and that's that. That's not what we do. And that's not ever going to be the scope or where we focus because that's not what I want. And it's not what all y'all want, obviously, because otherwise, what are you doing here, right? So, yeah, that's not going to change. That's just different, creative differences. There you go. That's a good way to put it. What's the ratio of publishers contacting Heavy Cardboard to cover promote things versus Heavy Cardboard going out there and getting sponsors, promotion deals? Sorry if this has been asked before. Benjamin asked that. There are, I would say it's still, well, I have to think about that, actually. Give me a second. Because it used to be, obviously, considerably, we still have to do the majority of reaching out for review copies and stuff. That doesn't. Now, there are some, like Clay at Capstone, Uli at Spielworks, Don at Nightworks, Mercury Games, Roxley now, and some of these other. And I'm Stronghold. They all pretty much just send us stuff at this point, or say, "Hey, do you want X, Y, or Z?" The majority of the others, though, we still have to reach out to folks. GMT has been amazingly good to us as far as like stuff for giveaways for HeavyCon and BGG and all that stuff. But we finally have started to ask them for review copies, which Tony Curtis has been very, very gracious, and he has been good to us since we were little tiny. And there is a publisher who will remain nameless that has been hounding us for the better part of a year to sponsor the show that I am not okay. I will talk more about that tonight on the show. But as far as sponsor content, so I think you guys know this, and if not, you should, and maybe we haven't been. No, I know we've been clear about this, so no. We've only had like 3. Yeah, we've only had 3 official sponsored / paid for playthroughs. One is going to be the Ruhr on Friday. The other 2 were the Brass and Moa, actually, from Ape Games. And that's not why I was nervous. But anyway, so, and there are a couple more that are planned. But for the most part, we don't get a lot of Kickstarter type stuff. We don't get a lot of offers for sponsorship like that, because we have long-term relationships with with all of our sponsors. I wish it was more, but there's not a ton of like Kickstarter type stuff that is in our wheelhouse. So that's self-limiting by its nature. I mean, we have some other irons in the fire that may or may not pan out, whatever. But yeah, I would say the ratio is still considerably higher that we have to reach out for things than just willy-nilly get sent to us at this point. Mayfair sends us stuff, like random stuff. That's kind of cool, right? Like, oh, wow, got a package? Nice. What's this? Don't know. But compared to somebody like the Dice Tower, not even close. We get a handful of games every month. We don't get a ton of games like that, to answer that question. Tesla says, oops, holy shit, I'm behind. Sorry, guys. Tesla says, I agree with quality on reviews. I like your style of reviews. Man vs. Meeple is also professional. There are a few others, which is why some people I don't watch or listen to every day. Yeah. I saw by the way, I saw your comment on Scythe. And I appreciate that. It's production quality, sure, it matters to a point, but the gameplay matters more. I'll respond to that later on this week when I have time, I promise, but I saw it. Thank you. Luke says he loves Sweary Edward. Heavy Cardboard, Glory to Rome editions, when we do those live streams. Those will be fun. I like Unfiltered Edward as well. Makes me really excited for, Heavy Cardboard. There you go, right? I think we're going to call it Heavy Cardboard Glory to Rome like edition, or Glory to Rome, something like that. Because After Dark gives a connotation of like rated X. I don't know why, but whatever. Andrew, what's the next Hollandspiel game that you expect to review or live stream? That's going to be either Supply Routes of the American Revolution or Opulares and Populares. One of those two. Spending 2 days in a hotel. What game should I bring? Something you can play by yourself? Or something that you want to learn and you can like sim by yourself. How's that? How many bottles of whiskey should I... enough to keep you occupied, Gio. Yeah, exactly. Jim and Eric over on Punching Cardboard. Ask them. Although I will say that, dude, that the amount of chatter yesterday about the scotch, that was pretty cool. Speaking of which, as far as chatter, I thought that was one hell of a good conversation that Jose... a bunch of people chimed in on the show stuff on Slack about Amanda recusing herself on the PAX Renaissance episode and all that went into that. I thought that was really, really good conversation. So good stuff. Amanda did as well. She was just busy at work. 4X, looking forward to that as well. Yes to conversations with Rado. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay. Cool. All right. I appreciate that, Luke, about homey. Homely. Hopefully, I hope you mean homely in a positive, not like, oh, that's cute. Pat. Yeah, GMT is whatever we want. They will send us. It's just a matter of when we get to it. I don't want to ask for stuff that we're not going to get to for a while. That's all. The difference here. Okay, here, let me put this to rest regarding Man versus Meeple. They tend to be more overviewy than review, and that's fine. That's just the path they choose to go down. It's just completely different than the path we have chosen and what suits us. That works for them. Obviously, they're super popular, so obviously they're appealing to a lot of people. So good on them. And Jeremy and David seem like legitimately nice guys. So, the problem, Gio, with us doing boring unboxings is we just don't get that much, and it would be like a box at a time. Here, oh, hey, look, we got a game. Bye. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Oh, hey, Jose. Speaking of which, appreciate that, Tesla. Thanks. We did do, and that wasn't a boring unboxing of Lisbo. What he means is, oh, hey, look at what happened to what came into HCHQ today. Like Vassal does for, I mean, it's box after box after, and I'm like, wow. But then again, they have a lot more games that fall into their wheelhouse than we do. I actually am going to be talking about a number of the games that we've gotten recently on tonight's podcast. So there's that. Whew. Hour and a half. Wow. I've been talking nonstop for an hour and a half. Shit goes quick. All right. Oh yeah, we do get that. Yeah, like I mean, we could do that post-Essen when we bring back all our review copies of stuff. All right. Anyway, I'm going to call it at that point. All right. Yeah, right. Seriously. Good thing I don't have a podcast. So check it out. Remember, I don't know. We're not going to give a whole lot of notice. Subscribe, the little bell thingy down underneath the video. If you want to be alerted, you know what? That might not work tonight because it's going to be unlisted like how these are. You have to have the link for it. So I will post this to both the Slack channel as well as in a Patreon update post like I did on this for tonight's live. I say tonight, it's going to be later this afternoon, this evening, tonight, whatever, something like that when we record or at Labora. But it will be live. So if you guys want to chime in, like I said, it's going to be very much a one-way thing. We're not even going to pay attention to anybody watching. This is simply letting you guys see what us recording a podcast is like, because we want to be able to focus. Plus, if we're screwing off a whole lot, it makes editing a whole lot harder on Amanda, and time's already short as is for her. So I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's that. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, and one cool thing in the Ian O'Toole interview today is I had the door open because it's obviously only this camera and you guys can't see the door, so I figure why not. So there, and Asher came up. I just started petting him, and Ian's like, "Oh, hey Asher," and that was kind of cool. Like Ian O'Toole knows my dog. Kind of cool, I'll be honest. So anyway, all right. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this and you get something out of this. The last thing that I want to say is, well, two things. Three things. I'll get it right yet. Three things. Number one, thank you to all y'all. Whether you're watching this live, watching this after the fact, every live stream that we do, Amanda and I thank you guys. Or if it's just me, I thank you guys. And by you guys, I mean patrons. Because literally, without you guys, this shit ain't happening. So you are as big of a lifeblood to this show as anything else is. So I mean that. And I hope that comes through and doesn't become, oh yeah, he said thanks. Nah, I don't see it that way. So I hope it doesn't come across to you guys that way. And I hope you guys feel it when we say thank you. It's not, oh, hey, we haven't said thanks to our patrons. And no, shit's never like that, because you're fueling my ability and our ability to continue to do this. And that is a big deal. And so, yeah, that's number one. Number two, I mentioned this very briefly, and I'm only going to mention it again very briefly, but September is going to be a really, really big month for the show. We are going to be doing a patron drive, basically. Think of it as Kickstarter without Kickstarter, because we're going to do everything through Patreon and PayPal and credit cards, and try and make it to where I can legitimately do this full time. I'm not going to go into it more than that right now, but next week, you guys are going to get a message to, hey, come join this live stream. This live stream is going to be me and Amanda talking to you guys and letting you know what the plan is. And basically asking for your help, and not by any more money or anything from you guys. It's just, you'll hear it. Number three thing, so keeping an eye out for that. Number three is going to be spread the word. It's one thing when I spread the word about heavy cardboard. It's a huge different thing when you guys do it. Whether that's mention us on Reddit, start a thread on Reddit, start a thread on BGG in the general forums, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, your local group, your local game store. Spread the word. And I'm not talking just the Patreon for heavy cardboard. I'm saying heavy cardboard, because we have roughly 8,400 subscribers that listen to the podcast here and there. Not everybody listens to every episode. which is to be understood, especially since we're producing more content now. However, that's only 8,400. There are probably 10 times that many more people that play the type of games that we enjoy, and by we I mean y'all and us, that have no clue what heavy cardboard is or who or what a podcast is or anything like that. So help us spread the word to help you to be able to do the show. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that you guys can do for us at this point, on top of what you're already doing with Patreon. So truly, from the bottom of both mine and Amanda's hearts, thanks y'all. Really, really appreciate this. All right. So later on tonight, today, whatever, come join us for the live stream if you don't want the episode ruined. Otherwise, we will see you Friday. Yeah, for the roar. All right. Cool. See y'all in Slack. Later, y'all.